Yeah, it's fascinating. So that they hit them hard on the walls on the weak side,
Yes.
where there's the army protection.
Yes. And they conquer their way down to Hangzhou, the capital of the Southern Song. They've been in power for a long time, since 970, and now we're already into the 1270s. That's a long time. They are dissipated. They've had imbeciles ruling, all kinds of things going on. And at this point, we have a child in command. But Kublai makes a very strange move. He says, okay, let's invade Japan now. They say, what? wait. We're fighting against the Song dynasty. And most people ascribe it to all kinds of things. But actually, I think there was a great logic to it. One was he had abolished his grandfather's policy of defeat and destroy until they are no more. That was the phrase that was used for their enemies. And he had replaced it with a kind of mercy policy. Try to incorporate them into your army if possible, but be merciful. He did not want to destroy, and he was not. He had a lot of defectors coming in. And because the Mongols prized people with skills, a lot of very clever people with shipbuilding and engineers, and these people were flocking to the Mongols, whereas the scholars were all hanging out in Guangzhou doing calligraphy and poetry and having contests over who could sing or paint, or I don't know what scholars do, but they were being scholars.
Yes.
But they're actually, I think there's a very, very good reason for invading Japan, several. The main one was to cut off the supply of sulfur. They needed it for gunpowder in the South Song. They lost their sources in northern China when they were driven out. They got it from Japan. It was a great source. But I think there were other reasons. If they could trade, they could also perhaps flee to Japan, and they didn't want that to happen. And then there's this idea of, like, kill the chicken to scare the monkey. It's like, okay, we'll go do this, and then maybe they'll just surrender down there if they see us conquer Japan. Well, it was a total failure. You've got a bunch of ships that are mainly great on the river and right along the coast, and you're crossing some treacherous water there. And the Mongols basically just did not know what they were doing. Okay, you can arrive with a trebuchet and you can throw grenades at the beach. It's not really going to do a lot of damage. It might scare a few horses, but you're not destroying cities. And the Japanese cities were more in. They weren't there on the beach waiting for Mongols to come invade. So he failed in that invasion.
So we should say that this is the time of the samurai, right?
Yeah,
in
the
Japan.
samurai. Yes.
So there was never a real test of
No, there
battle.
was some fighting, and the samurai learned some very valuable things. The samurai had such a ritualized way of life. It's like the knights of Europe.
Yes.
Coming out with armor that had to be lifted up on a crane onto a horse. And I mean, it was just craziness. The samurai, almost at that point, you ride out in front of your enemy and you recite the story of your genealogy.
Right.
Oh, what? Mongols, they have no use for that. They're there to fight. They're there to win. But on the other hand, this was a unknown territory to them, and the weather did turn against them. But I don't want to give too much credit to the weather. I really think that the Japanese defeated them. The Mongols weren't well prepared. Their ships were not very good. They were defeated in the first invasion.
Could they get off the ships onto the beach?
Oh, they did. They had some skirmishes or small battles on land. Yes, they did.
But they didn't successfully complete them.
No.
So they couldn't do their usual Mongol thing.
You're right. Well, see, they don't have enough horses for one thing.
Yeah.
And there were many tactical things that they had done incorrectly. It's the first time anybody had ever tried to have such a massive invasion.
Yeah. So they're just learning the basics of what it means to have a navy.
So he has failed to conquer, and he's thinking like a Mongol that you rule those waters and lands, but he ruled the ocean. He stopped the trade. He stopped the supply. He cut off the possibility of the Song dynasty fleeing to Japan. He won in a certain way. He lost, but he had won his objective of cutting off southern China.